Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through the notes on quadratic formula. At the end of this, you should be able to say I can solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Okay, first thing, the quadratic formula for solving quadratic equations in the form some number times x squared plus another number times x plus another number, which is the constant, equals 0, is this formula here. And this is the quadratic formula. Okay? Now, there's a way to remember this quadratic formula. You don't have to have it memorized, but there's a way to remember it, and it's you kind of sing it along to a little tune called Pop Goes the Weasel. Ready? X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, there you go. That's the first and last time you'll have to hear me sing that song. But anyway, that's just a way to help people remember what the quadratic formula is. Okay? Now, let's do this. We're going to solve each equation by using the quadratic formula. Okay? Now, we've got this equation here. Whatever is in front of the x squared is what the a value is. So that a is going to equal 2, because that's whatever's in front of the x squared. And then whatever's in front of the x is what the b is going to be. So that's going to be b equals 5. Got to keep the sign that's in front of it, so it's positive 5. So this is positive 5. And then whatever the last number here is, that's the c. I call it the constant. So c equals negative 6. Okay? So there's my a, my b, and my c. And all I'm going to do is just substitute my a's, b's, and c's into this equation right here. Okay? So let's do this. We've got x equals negative, and then the b here is going to be 5. Everything I plug in, I'm just going to put in parentheses because I'm hoping that will help you better understand where things are coming from. Plus or minus square root of the b, which is 5 squared. Oops. 5, I'm going to leave that because it's always squared. B squared minus always 4 times a, which in this case is 2. 4 times 2 times c, which is negative 6. And then that whole thing is all over 2 times a, which is 2. Okay, so that's all of our substitutions. So notice that the two b's, the two red b's turned into 5s. The two pink a's turned into 2s, because that's what the a's are. And then the c was negative 6. That turned into negative 6. So all we did was just substitute it in. Okay. Now we're going to simplify this. We're going to multiply this all out, and away we go. Okay, so I'm just going to write this all now in blue, since now you can see where everything's coming from. So this is negative 5 plus or minus. And you can put this all into your calculator if you want. Sometimes it's easier just to do it in your head here. So 5 squared is 25 minus, let's see, we've got a negative times a positive times a negative, so that's actually going to be plus. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 6 is, 48? Okay, and then it's all over 2 times 2 is 4. So we can do x equals negative 5 plus or minus 25, and 48 is what, 73? All over 4. Okay, so we just end up getting that for our answer. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 73 over 4. Okay, and that is our solution of this lovely equation. Okay, now just really quick. This is fairly important because people are like, solution? What the heck is a solution? What are you even talking about this with this thing here? So what this means for a solution is if we were to go through and graph it, which it's not asking you to do, but the solution is this is 2x squared plus 5x minus 6. So it's some kind of parabola, and it looks, let's just pretend it looks something like this. Okay, this point right here and this point right there. This point right here is going to be the negative 5 minus root 73 over 4. So this is negative 5 minus root 73 over 4. And then this point over here is going to be negative 5 plus root 73 over 4. Okay, that's where that's basically the x-intercepts. That's the solution to these. Okay, you don't have to graph it, but I just wanted you to understand what was going on with that. Okay, we'll do one more, but first let's take a quick little comedy break. All right. Here we go. B. Let's plug this in here to our quadratic formula here. All right. So I'm going to not color code. I'll color code everything. Why not? You do not have to, obviously, but might help out. So A in this case is going to be whatever numbers in front of x squared, which there isn't one. So basically ask yourself, how many x squareds do we have? 1. So A is going to equal 1. Okay. B is going to be whatever's in front of the x, which is 3. And then C is going to be the constant here, which is 8. Okay. So now we are going to plug this into our quadratic. X equals negative B, we know, is 3. And then we have, oops, I was supposed to put that in parentheses so you knew what was getting plugged in. Sorry. Okay, we're getting there. Plus or minus square root of B, again, squared, minus 4 times A, which in this case is 1, times C, which is 8. And that whole thing is all over 2 times A, which is 1. Okay? So that's all color coded there. Hopefully that helps out. So this simplifies down to x equals negative 3 plus or minus. And then we have 3 squared is 9. A negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 8 is 32. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. So this is x equals negative 3 plus or minus. 9 minus 32 is what? Negative 23 all over 2. So we can almost leave it like this, except for, look, we got a square root. We got a negative inside the square root, so all we have to do is just pull that out, turn it into an I, and we get x equals negative 3 plus or minus. Remember, this negative 23 is negative square root of negative 1 times the square root of 23. And we know that that square root of negative 1 is I. And then we write 23 all over 2. And those are our answers for this one here as well. So that's where it's going to cross the x-axis. Those are the two spots where it's going to cross the x-axis if we were to graph it, which we don't have to. Okay? Okay. That's using the quadratic formula. You're going to get some weird answers. Sometimes you get nice answers. Sometimes you get weird answers. So either way, that should work out. Okay? If you have any further questions on any of this, please feel free to ask. Thanks.